This year marks the 55th anniversary of Elvis's recordings at the American Sound studios in Memphis. Now, it just so happens that around about that time, probably the following year in 1970, the first Elvis bootleg LP was released. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at how bootleg LPs have changed over that almost 55-year period. Sadly, I don't have the very first bootleg LP, which I think was called Please Release Me. But I do have a fairly early one, which I'll show you. And I also have a very, very recent bootleg LP, which has just come out. And okay, we'll have a look at the early one first. It's called King of Las Vegas Live. Very rudimentary packaging, as you can see. This is actually a 12-inch by 12-inch cardboard cover with an A4 sheet on the outside. This originally would have had shrink wrap on it. The track listing is here, but in actual fact it's completely different to what's on the LP, or almost entirely different, as I'll explain in a moment. This is the label here. It says Wizardo Records, and it just reads live recordings on the labels. It doesn't say Elvis's name anywhere. Presumably that was to keep them out of trouble. The records, the two sides are not banded, which also makes it very difficult to listen to, because as I say, the track listing on the front is almost entirely different to what's on the record. One thing I don't like about this record is the fake record label at the top here. It says Has Been Records, H-A-Z-B-I-N, suggesting, of course, that Elvis was a has-been. The Jailhouse Rock bootleg book dates this LP as 1973, but I don't think it can be as early as that because of the picture of Elvis here. That looks like the totem pole jumpsuit, which Elvis wore in 1975. Now, I haven't suddenly become a jumpsuit expert. I actually looked that up. So pretty sure that's a picture from 75. If I'm wrong, please let me know. So that dates the album no earlier than 1975. I'll just take you through the track listing. In fact, tell you what's on it. It's actually from the That's the Way It Is soundtrack, taken straight from the soundtrack of the movie. So it's got That's All Right, I've Lost You, Patch It Up, and then there's a long Elvis monologue leading into Love Me Tender. It's got You've Lost That Loving Feeling, and then Sweet Caroline on side one. There are also a few fan comments interspersed here and there. Side two, it's got I Just Can't Help Believing, long fan comments after that one, and then it's all music after that. Tiger Man, Bridge Over Troubled Water, Heartbreak Hotel, Blue Suede Shoes, All Shook Up, and Polk Salad Annie. So the only songs on this list which are correct are Polk Salad Annie, Bridge Over Troubled Water, and Heartbreak Hotel. I reckon the person who was in charge of the artwork just guessed at what was on the album. So that, as I say, dates from probably 1975 or around about that time. The sound quality, by the way, is listenable, but slightly harsh. I've certainly heard a lot worse bootleg recordings, usually audience recordings. This one is not audience recording, it's taken from the movie, so it's actually quite listenable. However, of course, there's not really any need to own it anymore because all that music has been released officially. So through the 90s especially, and into the 21st century, we really got a lot of bootleg CDs. I don't have very many bootleg CDs. I never really collected them because at the time they were expensive, and they've come down in price since then, but then you can get most of the music on official releases. But I'm quite attached to my bootleg LPs, just mainly for the packaging. I've got quite a few other bootleg LPs, so if you're interested in seeing any videos about other bootlegs, please let me know. But what I'll show you now is a very, very recent release. Here we go. From Elvis in Memphis, the alternate album. And this is actually not one album, but three albums. The alternate album, volume 1, 2, and 3. Now, it's not strictly from Elvis in Memphis alternate album 1, 2, and 3. So first of all, it's got this sash around the 3 LPs, and it's a little bit of a nuisance in a way, but it's numbered, so you don't want to throw it away if you decide to get this one. It's a limited edition of 200, and it's the only part of the whole package which is numbered. So although it's a little bit of a nuisance, you don't want to throw it away. Just like people used to throw away the old obis on the Japanese LPs back in the 1950s and 60s, and then later regretted it. You want to hang on to that if you get it. In the meantime, I'm struggling to get the LPs out from underneath this sash. All right, here we go. I've got it now. I've got it. There we go, from Elvis in Memphis, Volume 1, the alternate album. That is a period photo, of course, and I like the living stereo banner across the top. The cover is fairly standard modern cover with these sort of squared off edges at the top and bottom. And they've remained quite faithful to the original album on the back there, with a picture of Elvis on the left, a solid color on the right with the album title, track listing, and another album advertisement there. By the way, if anybody knows who this person is here with their arm around Elvis, please let me know. My initial reaction was it was a guy, but then I noticed that this person is wearing lipstick. Could still be a bloke, of course. And they seem quite tall. So if anybody knows who that person is, please let me know who they are. As for the track listing, I believe all this material is released or has been released either on other bootlegs and or on FTD. And it's basically the same 12 tracks that are on the From Elvis in Memphis album, but they're almost all of them are different versions, alternate takes, different mixes, and so on. I'll put a picture of the track listing on screen so you can have a look at it and make sense of it yourself. I think the only song that is the same as the album is I'll Hold You in My Heart, because I believe there was only one take made of that. The sound quality is, of course, superb. And here's the record. Comes in a sleeve with polythene on the inside. And that's the label design. One of the albums is on colored vinyl. And the label design basically is the same across the 3 albums, but it changes color, as you'll see. So each album has a different color scheme. So that's the first one. The second one is the alternate album, Volume 2. The fabulous cover there. Slightly different stereo logo at the top, but again, it gives it that period look. The quality of the images is really good, and each album is shrink wrapped as well. This one is very loosely based on the Back in Memphis album. Once again, picture on the left, track listings here, and another album advertised at the bottom. So it does contain a few tracks, about 5 I think, which were on the original Back in Memphis album, Inherit the Wind, Do You Know Who I Am, a little bit of Green, The Fair's Moving On, and The Grass Won't Pay No Mind. It also has a few singles, Kentucky Rain, Rubbernecking, Don't Cry Daddy, Mama Like the Roses, and Suspicious Minds. It also has a couple of other things, including The Poor Man's Gold. It says here, take 1 with vocal overdub. So you might think, or you might be wondering, if that's the recent AI version of that. Thankfully, it's not the AI version. Elvis just sings a couple of lines, and then it's all instrumental from that point on. So that's that one. This is actually the colored vinyl album of the 3. It's clear, and you can see the label designs are blue and white. Again, super sound quality, and I guess that many of these tracks on these albums are being released on vinyl here for the first time. I guess that's the appeal. Although some tracks on this last album, which I'm going to show you, I know for a fact have been released on vinyl. This one was the most interesting to me. They're still calling it From Elvis in Memphis, the alternate. Well, this is the alternate live album, and then Volume 3. So live shot of Elvis there, very high quality. You can see his makeup and his sweat and whatnot. I don't know if it's been manipulated digitally, but it looks very, very good. And on the back, another live picture, and the same idea on the right side here. So these tracks are, it's a mix of songs which he recorded in the studio at American Sound, and also tracks that he was recording live around that time. So the American Sound studio songs, live versions that are on here are This Is the Story, Inherit the Wind, Rubberneckin', Kentucky Rain, Don't Cry Daddy, In the Ghetto, Hey Jude, Suspicious Minds, and True Love Travels on a Gravel Road. And there are other live songs that he was doing around that period. Baby, What You Want Me to Do, I Can't Stop Loving You. That's a really good version of that. It's also got Loving You, Reconsider Baby, and Memories, Mystery Train, Tiger Man, and Yesterday. So it's kind of a combination of American Sound studio songs and other things that he was doing live at the time. Very good idea, I think. They haven't tried to make it appear like one concert, so the songs fade out and then fade back in again. And once again, the sound quality on that is really, really good. So once again then, if we go back to the first album that we looked at, this is a fairly typical early bootleg album. In the cardboard cover with the A4 sheet. Not bad sound quality. And then the labels and the covers do not match. As opposed to a modern record with extremely tastefully done packaging, colored vinyl, and the labels, the title on the labels even matches the title on the cover. So well done to the chaps who produced this set here. Well, I think that'll do for this video. If you have any questions or comments, as ever, please leave them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Cheers.